Oh man, what a gorgeous fall day. Welcome back to GP Outdoors. If you watched the channel, you probably saw my video number 620 that I released a few days back. I was out in the forest with Guy. We were bucking up some pretty big oak and a lot of maple. It was a long day for me. But if you did watch it, you probably saw me do this. And then you probably saw me do this. And in case you missed that, you probably saw me do this.
Almost. There we go.
Or you saw me do that. Or this. And if you missed any of the rest of it, you definitely probably saw me do this. We have a wonderful community here on GP Outdoors. After I aired that video and reading through the comments, I noticed that not one but two of you had mentioned the exact same thing to me, which I had no idea of after 10 years of using a chainsaw. The first one said, you know, GP, great video, enjoyed it a lot today, but by the way, be careful when you pinch your bar. If you pull too hard on that bar too often, you're going to break your anti-vibration mounts. I thought, well, might be true. And the second comment I read said the exact same thing, and at the end, you said, trust me, ask me how I know. LOL. So I did what any one of you would do. I picked up the phone and I called Ron at the chainsaw clinic down in Toronto. If you're new to the channel, I've been buying most of my outdoor power equipment from Ron and his family for years. He and his family have been selling and servicing chainsaws since the 1950s. And although Ron is too humble to say it himself, I can pretty much guarantee that there's nothing he doesn't know about chainsaws. So I asked him. As soon as I told him what you suggested, he immediately agreed with you both. It's a good quality piece of equipment, and I think sometimes because you buy good quality equipment, you tend to think that it can pretty much suffer anything. But he confirmed, your anti-vibration mounts are not engineered or designed to withstand several large, impactful forces laterally against them. They're not designed to take that. When your bar is pinched, your bar is pinched. And hauling at it back and forth as hard as you can and reefing it to try to get it out of the kerf, not good for your mounts. In my case, I have two anti-vibration mounts, one here and one under the underside of the saw. He also mentioned that there's what they call an air boot. It's like a rubber boot that exists between your carburetor and the engine. I'm trying to point it out here. I'm not a mechanic, but I'm pretty sure this is it. He said repeated pulling with high force can cause it to tear or rip. He said pulling on it horizontally with large amounts of pressure or force can cause it to rip or tear, requiring replacement. But not just that. He also said that depending on the saw model you have, you'll suffer the same similar potential damage to your fuel line, which I believe is this one right here on my saw. And lastly, he said depending on the model, there was one other thing that can be damaged by reefing hard horizontally on a stuck guide bar. I just don't remember what it was called, but he said that my model doesn't suffer that, but yours might. So when your guide bar ever gets pinched, give it a little tug, but no more than that. If you can't get it out easily, he said leave the bar, and you got a couple of options, right? If you're there with a few buddies, get somebody to cut the compression side of that log just, you know, close to where your saw is pinched, and you'll find that the kerf will open and you can pull the saw out. If you're by yourself or with friends, drop a wedge or two if needed into the kerf and drive that wedge in until that kerf opens up wide enough that you can easily remove the saw. Or, if all else fails, make sure to take the housing off, loosen it up, and get the bar and the chain away from the power head before you start trying to find a way to get the guide bar out on its own. Don't leave the power head attached. So hey, if you're fairly new to chainsaws like I am, I hope this has been really helpful to know. I wanted to reach out to you folks as a community again. I realize just how fortunate I am to have such an expansive experience and knowledge across this community base, and it's greatly appreciated when you take the time to provide some experience or knowledge to the rest of us. It doesn't go unnoticed, and it's very helpful not only to me but to others. Have a great week with your families. Please be kind to each other. I'm Gord Potter, and you've been watching GP Outdoors. Cheers.